Morning, E-Dirt. Hollywood here, hanging by the pool, and I need it because it was such an awesome, but busy, but crazy awesome start to the GXCC season opener. Bronkhorstspruit round number 1. I've been building up to this race the whole way through the off-season, getting ready for everyone to dust themselves off, and it did not disappoint. We need to say first things off, high five to Lawrence and Marilyn. They did an absolutely sterling job in year 1, year 2. This round opened up year number 3, and it was a record-breaking 462, I think it was, just under 470 entries, covering all the juniors, the quads, and all the senior motorcycle categories. That is near on unheard of in the recent 10-year history of off-road and enduro events. So that's absolutely massive. I think it's only the MP last year that can actually boast numbers in similar, because that just means we're on for a cracker of a season. Everyone was lined up there. We had our biggest ever entry of our juniors, especially the bobbleheads, the little 50cc's. Moms and dads, well done to you guys, getting the kids onto the bikes as early as possible. This is where our journey starts. They had a great lap to go out on. The 50s had a little wobbling 5K. All the other bigger wheels, 65s, 85 juniors and 85 seniors, they went out and had a 15K loop. They had 2 hours of near on perfect riding terrain. They had a lot of rain out in the Bronchies area coming up to the race over the last couple of weeks, so we knew it was going to be an absolute perler. On the senior side of things, it was going to be super busy. The quad started off our racing account with the Q1s as always, and everyone was going to be chasing down on one man, the king of the GXCCs from last season, Gideon Jacobs. The indestructible KTM came back and bit him, and it was early on lap number 1, around about 7 or 8 Ks into it. Gideon Jacobs snapped one of the Nerf bars and foot pegs off the side of his bike, had to limp it in, obviously did the repairs in the pits, but lost the race due to that. So he's going to have to climb the ladder from, I think, around about 5th place he was, come the end of play. But it meant that Russell Ferreira was our first winner of the season, taking a win on his new KTM as well. So well done to Russ for making the jump across. He's got a couple of bikes to choose from, and he's still deciding which bikes are going to suit which terrain best. He's got a clutch of Hondas and KTMs, but so far the KTM has been his weapon of choice in 2018. He beat out on Keenan Hammond for the Q1s. In the Q2s, all about the Mr. Indestructible, as well in the Q2 category championship and national championship series, and that is Hannes Simon, the main big dog coming out of EMD and QCon Racing. This guy, flag to flag, clear air. I wouldn't say clear air from lap number 2. He was in the dust of all the lappers after that, but he was not going to get caught. No way, no how. Great to see a couple of new names coming into the mix as well. Vian van Sale, great to see the guy who's come real good on the Yamaha, taking a couple of seasons to get used to the machine, and he is going to be a kid to watch out for as well as we start moving through the championships. On the ladies side of things, there were 2 ladies that were the fastest on the lineups every single round coming out of 2017, and that was Gnarly Carly Buerta on the 450 machine and the big 700 in the hands of Marty Backfisher. Now, about 3/4 of the way through last season, Marty had to do the step out. She tore her ACL and had to go for the big op, leaving the championship in the hands of Gnarly Carly. Carly, though, really wants to prove a point, so she came out swinging, banging hard in race number 1, and she walked away with the first ladies' victory. On her tail, Marty, and then Megan Stander. So the ladies are in real good form. Not the biggest quad entry on the ladies' side we have seen. We saw big lineups towards the end of last season, but we know we've got the championship up and running. That was race number 1 on the day, and they had perfect conditions. Roll on race number 2 of the day, and that was all of the senior motorcycle categories. On the senior motorbikes, it was an absolute pleasure to see so many people making the trip to Bronkhorstspruit. For us that live in Joburg or Pretoria, it's pretty much down the road, about an hour and a couple of clicks down a dirt road. But we saw guys from Botswana, a massive lineup from Botswana. We saw a couple of guys coming down from Swaziland, and we saw guys making the trip up from KZN. Reason? Because a lot of the national guys really want to get that dust off done. The KZN guys have already had one of their hair scramble cross-country races, but they wanted to come up and get into the mix with GXCCs to really get themselves on the pace. Not just the off-road guys. We saw some of the enduro guys coming up there. Little Matty Green, who is really not famous for any kind of off-road racing at all, but he did come out of the Junior Off-Road Championship Racing Series a few years back. He's one of the kids that came up with Stefan van Deventer when they were warring in the 65s. And we must remember that the old National Off-Road Championship Race Series for the juniors was a Off-Road Championship. So they've got the speed, they've got the skills, but some of them, as they get older, go into the big bad world of enduro and do focus on that. Matty Green in particular, remember, he is really the man to beat on high school enduro racing. Great to have him up here, and thanks for Fred and everyone for getting everyone up and on the line. Let's go through the categories then in the breakdowns. Let's start with the smaller CCs, the 125s, or as it's known for 2018, the high school category. It was a big question mark coming into the season how that was going to be working, because of course a couple of the guys were big kids, which meaning they would really have to move up into the OR3 category. I'm talking about kids like Jared Spalding. There's a couple of real big dudes out there, and if they had to make the move down to the 125s, they'd just be in a power to weight ratio penalty situation. So the 125s is all the little kids or the smaller guys, basically, or younger guys that are going to be out there on the grid. The man to beat last year was Mr. 125. We called him Ryan Peltzer. But a couple of guys were starting to get good as well as the season went on. He was in a season war with Leon Jardine. This year, though, there's a new kid on the block, should I say. Low Pretorius. I'll say it again. Low Pretorius. Who's Low Pretorius? I was asking myself that the whole way through the day, and you better believe that Peltzer was also asking himself that. Basically, I got on the phone yesterday with Leon from Farm Jam, because I can see the kid is running in Vans Racing colors. I'm like, who's this dude? He says, yeah, last year at Ride for Damien, I think Leon was on his big 350 or a 450 Husqvarna. Said around about lap number 2, some lighty on a 250 Yamaha came hauling past him and he never saw him again. Basically, he tagged him at the end of that race and said, when the season rolls over, come knock on my door. The kid did. He's got a full hookup ride with Husqvarna through Vans Racing, and he smoked the guys at the first round. Peltzer got a number 2 spot. The now skinny Nardis Rabi, who is getting mentored by the ever famous and very, very tasty rider in his own right, with a lot of history of racing in this country. That's Altus de Vet, and they're both riding out of Roost KTM. So a new man at the top, and Low Pretorius, welcome to GXCC Racing. And I said there was going to be a new man coming through. There's going to be some new threats. Talking about new threats then, let's keep them moving on up the gate. The OR3s, that's a 200cc gate. Stefan van Deventer, who was pretty much the man to beat at every single round of the Off-Road Championship and the GXCCs last year when he was riding on the Yamaha, moved across to the orange. He's got picked up by Alfie Cox Racing Motul, and he's on the 250 KTM 4-stroker. He didn't get all the way high that he wanted to, but it's going to be a learning year for him, as he really has to completely change how he rides. Different style, different format, and different threats of riders. He's definitely going to have to pick up the pace this season. He was just off the box this time around. The man to beat, though, this time was Carl Flanagan. We know he's an incredibly strong rider. He is the reigning 200cc national champion, and he stays with Proudly Bidvest Yamaha, and he, currently coming off round number 1, is the man to beat in the 200cc gate. A big threat to him, though, is going to be another man who's really used to riding his Yamaha for the last couple of seasons. Last year, a good year coming back from his injuries. This year looks really dialed in. Stays with D&H Engineering. The Clan McLeod, Darren McLeod, 2-spot for him. So it's going to be tasty to watch what happens in the 200cc gate. The man that wasn't on the 200cc gate this time was the man who was the winningest rider on the 200cc gate last year, and that is Taki Botjadges. Taki looks like he's making the big move up into OR3s. On the OR3 gate then, what did we see? We saw huge talents lining up on the gate. The OR3s, you had Taki Botjadges. Yeah, he's not on his race bike yet. He was on his 350 Enduro machine, so he didn't think he was going to be a big threat, but never count him out. You had Brett Swanepoel, the reigning national champion, coming out of Pepsim Plastics factory Husqvarna in the Liqui-Moly colors. He made the trip up to come and dust off his high-speed skills at the GXCC. You've got a new signing onto the whole shot Husqvarna squad out of Boksburg, Jason Fenter. He's been a man that's really started to climb the ladder. You've got his teammate, Hein van Niekerk Jr. The OR2 gate was absolutely stacked to the max. It was going to be a rough one. Unfortunately, early on, Brett Swanepoel went down in a blaze of glory big time. Ate it in the first set of rocks, went a little bit wide, this is what the guys say, and just got sent over the bars. Spaghetti his arm completely, and thankfully they are going to be able to repair his hand. We wish Brett the very best of a speedy recovery, but we know with a hand injury as severe as we are told it is, it's going to be pretty much a long haul the whole way through this year. Hand, elbow and collarbone, but he is cool. Thumbs up, Brett Swanepoel, speedy recovery, my friend. We know you'll be back on the box and back on the bike as quick as you possibly can. That left it open completely, so we saw some new guys coming to the front, and welcome from the world of motocross and warrior racing, so you know this guy's tough as nails, JJ Daisel. I had the pleasure of hanging out with JJ just last week at the regional motocross at Sandtrax at Sasolburg, and he ain't slow. He's in real good form, and one of these motocross guys, if he can turn his hand to off-road racing that quickly, and he's literally got no background in off-road racing, he's been motocross the whole way through, and he just came out absolutely swinging, and he's going to be a hard man to beat. He's on a 350 4-stroke KTM, and man, he drilled them. I mean drilled them. Second place was a new signing with Jason Fenter on the Holeshot Husqvarna squad. I've been tagging Jason for the last couple of years, saying he's the rider on the up. He hasn't got a big background in motocross or off-road racing, but he's really polished his game the last 3 years, and he will be a big threat. But watch out for when Tucky comes back on point, and we know that for the National and for the next round of the GXCCs, that's going to be at Fockville, by the way, on the 10th of March, he is going to be a massive threat, and he will want to get his crown back big time. On to the big bangers then, and that's the OR1 gate. D'Artagnan Lobjoy, reigning champion in the GXCCs, lined up once again. Thinner as well, looks like he's about 10 kgs down from last year. He stays with the Yamaha on the big 450. Kenny Gilbert, number 2 spot in the GXCCs, number 2 spot in the Nationals from last year, stays on the big 450. I think it's an FX on the Husqvarna side, running under the Pepson Plastics and Husqvarna Liqui Moly colors. He drilled them out the gate. He was whole shot king, cleared out, cleared off, and ran away. He said he did stop to make sure that Brady was okay and that the medics and everyone was going to be looking after him. Lost around about 30 seconds, then got himself back on point, started running. He said when he looked over his shoulder, could not believe his eyes. New kid on the block, moving up from the 350 OR2 category from last season into the 450s. He did one race last year on a self-bought KTM 450. The talent was spotted, got picked up by the new kids on the block as far as the team goes, and that's once again Holeshot Husqvarna, JC Nienaber. Second place and damn close to beating out on Kenny as well. And they were the only 2 riders, by the way, on the day to complete 5 laps of the 50k loop. Literally everyone else only completed 4. They were the only riders to bag and tag 5. So that was just absolutely astounding. Really, really, really incredible racing. Unfortunately, a good pal of ours in the industry and a good pal of mine, Rian Niveling, he did line up on the big bangers, and he's the marketing director, by the way. He looks after a lot of the teams coming out of the KTM colors. He lined up. He said he wasn't super fit, but he's a massive talent. He was running around about 5th place the whole way through, up until halfway through lap number 3, and unfortunately he took a big dive, and he's going to be having a nice tasty pot on his arm for a while. Broken wrist. Not a bad deal at all. He'll come back, bouncing back from that as well, but that's going to put paid to any chances of his motocross and off-road for at least the first half of the season. But at least he can look after all his KTM marketing duties and just keep that focus going. But we really do wish the downed riders and the injured riders all the very best for a nice, quick, speedy recovery. On the ladies, let's not leave out the fairer sex. Janke Pieterse signing up and jumping off the KTM from Trax last year. She signs up with Yamaha for this season. Looks like she's running out of the Shimwell colors. Anyway, she is going to be once again the lady to beat. She was untouchable, and she did tag, by the way, 4 laps. So she's a very, very tasty rider. That is a very long Hollywood Hills. I knew it was going to be a big one this week with so many categories to catch up on, but I'll say the numbers once again. 462 riders made the trip to Bronkhorstspruit, and we just pray that they'll stay with us for the whole rest of the tour. What else is going on? 10th of March, round number 2, the classic race venue of Fockville. Of course, before that, literally 1 week before that, it's going to be the 3rd of March. We go down to KZN, Ishui, I think it is, for the opening round of the National Off-Road Championships. I'm off up to Freiburg this weekend for the Regional Cars and Night of the Legends to help the guys from Freiburg Motor Club to talk about some of the old skilled riders from back in the day while they're still around. And it's just going to be some fun. Then we're going to be talking about a couple of motocross events, but for now, let's catch our breath and get ourselves recovered from what has been an amazing season opener from the GXCCs, round number 1. On the international side of things, our satellite riders Travis Teasdale and Wade Young doing a good job out at Hell's Gate. Looks like Wade had his mechanicals that really caused him a lot of problems last season. We hope that's not the way that 2018 is going to go for him. No such problems for the Beta Factory Pro of Travis Teasdale though. He was the man to beat and smoked everyone in the prologue. He went on to run so good on day number 1, and by the end of the evening's race, he'd walked away with his first big time international podium of the 2018 season. Hell's Gate, the first of the big ones, and he is now a key player. 3rd place behind some super tasty riders. It was Mario Roman who walked away with the win, Jarvis in the 2 spot, and Double T, Travis Teasdale on the Factory Beta, 3rd place. Now the season starts.